Okay, touchy subject alert. Here it is. You're in the bathroom constantly because you have the runs. Now, it can be embarrassing, debilitating. It can even affect your daily life. And worst of all, your doctor may not even think it's a true medical condition. So what do you do? How do you get the right diagnosis? Well, this morning, we're joined by two experts on intestinal disorders. Here to talk about this are Dr. Christine Frisora and Dr. Victoria Jason. Good morning.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here, ladies.
Thanks, Olga.
Do appreciate it. Doctor, let me start with you, Dr. Frisora. This sounds a little bit like IBS, and the reason I say this is because my husband suffers from this kind of condition, and we talk about it a lot. Open door policy when we talk about things like this. Is it IBS?
Well, IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, is a combination of symptoms that can include abdominal pain, bloating, diarrhea, and urgency.
Okay.
Now, is your husband going to kill you? How does he feel about America knowing this?
He knows that I tell everybody everything, so there you go. But you know what? We need to educate people on things like this.
I think it's important because a lot of patients suffer. It's embarrassing for the patient and their families. It can interfere with work. What if you're a pilot and you have to go to the bathroom? Their fear of having an accident.
Now, I've heard of IBS-D. Now, what is that?
IBS-D, or irritable bowel syndrome with diarrhea, is when diarrhea is the major problem. The patients can have fecal urgency. They have to run to the bathroom. They know where every bathroom is on the way from work to wherever they're going, home or to out, or they're afraid to go out. They're afraid to date. Maybe they've soiled themselves.
Wow.
They bring extra clothes wherever they go. They have to wear diapers. It's demoralizing, it's debilitating, it's embarrassing, and they really suffer from it.
And like we said earlier, right now, a lot of doctors don't know what it is. They'll say it's not really a medical disorder. For people, it is, and it's really just destroying their lives.
It's important to know what is irritable bowel syndrome and what is cancer. The most important thing is if there's an alarm symptom such as fever, bleeding, or weight loss, you need to go see your doctor. It could be cancer.
And education is key here, and that's why I'm so happy you both are here. Dr. Jason, let me bring you in. Great news here this morning. Your company recently helped develop a naturally sourced option for IBS, and I know a lot of people, millions of people suffer from this. It's described as a prescription medical food, especially for the IBS-D.
Yes, well, it's a prescription medical food, and it's called EnteraGam. And let's start with the discovery of EnteraGam. So it was found that when you fed these proteins in EnteraGam to young farm animals, they thrived. They no longer were malnourished, they no longer had diarrhea, they were generally healthier. And about 60% of the proteins in EnteraGam are immunoglobulins, and that's just a fancy scientific word for antibodies. However, it's purified from a non-dairy source. So it's casein-free, whey-free, lactose-free. It's also gluten-free, soy-free, dye-free. It's completely natural and completely unique.
Unique, doctor, making a difference in people's lives?
Well, as a doctor, I see hundreds of patients that suffer from diarrhea, IBS, and when I use this prescription medical food therapy, I see a good response.
Okay, I want to talk more about that response when we come back, so stay right there, ladies. Thank you so much. And coming up after the break, we're going to hear more about this unique breakthrough therapy for IBS-D and why it's so encouraging for disease specialists and their patients. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Balancing Act. We're rejoined by gastroenterologist Dr. Christine Frisora and medical scientist Dr. Victoria Jason. And we're talking about a groundbreaking therapy for the debilitating condition called IBS-D. Dr. Jason, let me start with you now. The therapy, again, is called EnteraGam. Tell me what you saw. Obviously, it's a game changer here. What you saw in the connection between the therapy and the clinical trials you observed.
Well, in clinical trials, which were completed in both men and women, patients reported a significant reduction in the number of days per week that they experienced loose stools, abdominal discomfort, urgency, flatulence, bloating, and the feeling of incomplete evacuation over a total period of 6 weeks. As far as how EnteraGam works, there's emerging evidence that IBS-D patients may have altered gut barrier function. So gut barrier function just describes the job of your intestinal wall. It's the job of your intestines to make sure that you keep the foodstuff within your intestines, but also allow nutrients through while keeping the bad things out. So EnteraGam, or the antibodies within EnteraGam, can bind to bad microbial components and prevent them from getting into your intestinal wall.
Dr. Frisora, let me bring you in. I know for a fact that 40 to 50 million Americans suffer from IBS. 2/3 of those are women. How is EnteraGam helping them?
Well, I do have a lot of female patients who suffer from diarrhea, IBS, and stress makes it worse. I have a patient who's a lawyer, and every time she has a trial coming up, she can't even function because she has cramping and diarrhea and abdominal pain. And what happens is when you're stressed, these gut bacteria that Dr. Jason's talking about, they start growing and eating everything you eat, and the result is the diarrhea IBS attack. So stress can make IBS worse, and here we have a way to break the cycle.
And Dr. Jason, just to reiterate again, EnteraGam is a prescription medical food,
Yes.
and that means it's drug-free, dairy-free, gluten-free, soy-free, and naturally sourced.
Correct.
Big game changer here. How does a patient take it? Is it a pill? Is it powder?
Well, it's actually a powder in a little sachet, and they just tear open the sachet and they can mix the product in anything they'd like. So they can mix it in water, they can mix it in flavored drinks, or they can mix it in yogurt, soft foods, for example.
Easy. Dr. Frisora, you mentioned the lawyer. You have hundreds of stories, I'm sure, but I always like to end on a high note, especially for patients who suffer from this, which is really difficult. Tell me about a story that you say, wow, that person just changed their life completely.
Well, I remember a mom, and she had 3 children. She was a single mom, and she had been at a restaurant where she ate something that gave her a terrible food poisoning. And after that food poisoning with the diarrhea, she never quite recovered. She couldn't get to work on time, and she couldn't lose her job. She's a single mom. But with this prescription medical food that you mix in with the water, she was able to get to work on time, and her intestinal function was able to normalize.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate your
I'm
time.
glad we could be here.
Dr. Jason, for more information on EnteraGam or anything IBS-D related, where do patients go?
EnteraGam.com.
Not just patients, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the education. I do appreciate it. And if you have IBS-D symptoms, IBS, or you want to learn more about EnteraGam, go to our website, thebalancingact.com. And right now, you can get all the resources you need right there. And don't forget to join us on Facebook and Twitter.